Good morning Year 6, welcome to our next session for the writing. Today is our SPAG focus and we're going to be looking at a range of sentence types. So the first thing I want you to do please is if you can write today's dates, which is Tuesday the 9th of February in your book. Must get the date right, it's 2021. And our learning objective today, I can use a range of sentence types for effects, okay? So a bit of a SPAG focus today. Don't forget to make sure that if you've got a ruler that you underline your date and your LO. And I shall do the same now. Hopefully my pens work. I'm just going to underline. Yours will be much neater than mine. Okay, and then I want you to start thinking about now, what different sentence types do you know? So the first thing is, I'll give you 30 seconds, have a think, how many different sentence types can you list? So I'll start you off. There's one on the board, 2A sentences, where we use adjectives in a sentence. What other ones can you think of? See how many you can list. We're only going to focus on 3 today, but see how many you can list. Bit of a test. And as you're doing that, I'm going to write on my board the ones that we're going to focus on today. So. Okay, now that you've had time to think, today we are going to look at the following 3 types of sentences. We're going to focus on 2A sentences, we're going to look at 3 ED sentences, and then DD sentences to get our colon in, okay? So the first one we're going to talk about today is the 2A. So, have a look at your PowerPoint, or you can have a look at this one afterwards. It says 2A sentences have 2 adjectives. We know that adjectives are describing words, okay? And those adjectives need to come before a noun. So we know that a noun is the name of a place, a person or a thing, or an object. And then you've been given an example here. So it says the glamorous, intelligent princess. So at this bit here, I've got glamorous, which is my adjective. I've also got another adjective here, and princess, which is also a noun. So actually in this sentence, I've got 2 examples of 2 adjectives in a noun. The second part, I've got grotesque, warty, and frog. Now, today, we are going to think of the sentences, examples that are 2A sentences, but that could also be linked with our diary entry from the viewpoint of Charlie. Now, yesterday, you read the chapter of the scene where Charlie gets escorted to his execution. So think about today, when you're doing these sentences, how can I write a 2A sentence from the viewpoint of Charlie, describing that scene that could also go in my diary entry at the end of the week. So I'm going to do an example with you now. So, a good starting point would be to think about how might Charlie be feeling at that point when he's being walked out onto that battlefield, onto the field where he's going to be basically executed in front of soldiers who were his former comrades and friends, which is going to be quite a tricky thing, isn't it, to get your head around. So, we know that if it's going in a diary entry, it's going to be from his viewpoint. So we're going to have first person pronouns in there. But as it says on here, we must have 2 adjectives and a noun. So the example that they've given is the glamorous, intelligent princess kissed the grotesque, warty frog. So I'm going to try and adapt this so that it fits with private, peaceful. So I might put something like and I'm following the same structure, the crowded, there's my adjective, the crowded, let me think of another adjective, the crowded, I'm going to put intimidating, and I can make this better afterwards if I need to, the crowded, intimidating, I'm going to put here battlefield, was surrounded by, and I'm going to put something about the spectators. There'll be lots of soldiers there watching him being executed. So the crowded, I'm just going to do my self-assessment. I've got the crowded, there's my adjective, I've got my second adjective, and I've got my noun. So I'm on the right track for a 2A. The crowded, intimidating battlefield was surrounded by, I'm going to put fatigued, which means tired. I'm going to put traumatised. Traumatised. And then soldiers. Okay? I'm going to check again. I'm going back to check the structure of that 2A sentence. So if I look at the board, 2 adjectives and a noun. Have I got another 2 adjectives and a noun? Well, I've got fatigued, so that's an adjective. I've got traumatised, that's an adjective. And I've got my final noun. So you can see my example there of a 2A sentence. So I'd like you all now to have a go at writing me 3 sentences which are 2A sentences, but try and link them to the text, try and link them to that scene where Charlie is escorted out. Okay, so that's my 2A. I'm now going to move on and we're going to talk about the second sentence type that you're going to have a go at using today. So, on the board this time we've got 3 ED sentences. So let's look at the structure of 3 ED. It says 3 ED sentences begin with 3 related adjectives, each of which end in ED. So that bit's really important. Those adjectives have got to end in ED. So frightened, terrified and exhausted. Or we don't even need the and in there actually. The princess ran for home. So I'm going to copy and follow that model. But I'm sure you're going to be able to come up with something much better yourself. So same again. I'm going to put a little bit of a title. So 3 ED sentences. Okay. And I'm now going to follow that model. And actually, those adjectives quite fit the sort of mood I want to give off in my writing today. So I might put here, because remember I want these to be able to be applied to my diary entry at the end of the week. It's no good me writing sentences today which are about aliens in space, because that doesn't link to the wall. So I'm going to put frightened, I can up level this afterwards if I need to, terrified, I'm going to put exhausted because it has to end in ED. Frightened, terrified, exhausted, comma, I was escorted out onto the field. I'm sure you're going to come up with some that are much better than this as well. But again, I am going back to that success criteria, which is on the PowerPoint, and I'm checking my sentence structure follows the one that's been decided on the PowerPoint. So, have I got 3 adjectives which end in ED? I've got 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 3 adjectives. And the other important bit here is I've also got a comma after my 3rd adjective, so please make sure you have 2. So same again, I'd like you now to come up with 3 sentences which are 3 ED sentences that can be linked to the moment where Charlie is escorted out, please. Okay, give you a couple of moments to do that one, and I will set up for the 3rd and final sentence that we are going to do today, which is the DD sentence. Okay, so having another quick glance at the board, today I want us to focus on a bit of description and detail as well, because when Charlie is giving his sort of thoughts on his final moments, the reader's really going to want to know the nitty-gritty, okay? So DD sentences, description, detail separated by that column, which is really high level for Year 6. So it says the first part gives description. The second part gives further details about that description. So, for example, if we were doing this from the viewpoint of Charlie, I might want to put something like, the soldiers who were once my friends stared despairingly at me. They couldn't look me in the eyes. So that second part is still talking about the first part, and they are still clearly linked. They're just providing a bit more detail about those soldiers. The example that they've given, the vampire is a dreadful creature, colon, that's my description in the green. The detail is now giving me more information about this dreadful creature. So it kills by sucking all the blood from its victims. So we're going to do the same again now. We're going to model 3 sentences independently. I'm going to pop mine up on the board, which I just mentioned, which I'd already popped up on my PowerPoint. So it says that the soldiers who were once my friends, I'm just going to put stared at me. Okay, that's my description. And as the reader, I'm thinking, why are they staring at him? Okay. And then here, the extra bit of detail, they, actually that's not going to make sense, is it? The soldiers who were once my friends stared at me, I'm going to put here, they were the ones who would kill me. Just realise that on the PowerPoint perhaps doesn't make that much sense, it's quite contradictory. So here, I've got the bit about the soldiers who were once my friend couldn't stare at me, and then as the reader I want to know why can't we stare at you, so that extra bit of detail there is actually, they're the ones that are going to be shooting me with a rifle and sentencing me to my death. So, I'm going to go back to that success criteria. Same again, have I got the description, have I got the detail? So, yes I have. I've got description, I've got my colon, and I've got my detail. So by the end of today's lesson, you should have 9 sentences. You should have 3 2A sentences, 3 3ED sentences, and then 3 DD sentences. If you need any more information, it's on the PowerPoint, so go back to those examples, but make sure you are doing that self-assessment. Have a great lesson, and I will see you on Thursday for the final video.